Robyn never received any of the money. When we bought our houses, Robyn's kickback from the house went to other family members.
Why does everyone think you're in charge of the finances? I mean, everyone...
Yeah, no, this is something I've begun to realize because Kody was always telling everybody that I was somehow calling the shots on the money.
Janelle Brown has officially had it. After years of whispered concerns, buried resentment, and watching her money vanish into a family fund she no longer trusted, she's done playing nice. In a move that's sending shockwaves through the Sister Wives fandom, Janelle's lawyer is now demanding a full financial audit of the Brown family's shared accounts.
Kody and Robyn kept telling her that Janelle was in charge of the finances.
Janelle was saying, no, I haven't been in charge of the finances. And Kody and Robyn have said, yeah, she has been. And I'm just like, anyway, it's a lot of pointing fingers.
And the person fans are eyeing hardest right now, Robyn Brown, who according to insiders and more than a few eagle-eyed viewers, is struggling to explain exactly where all the money went. This isn't just a squabble over budgets or bookkeeping. This is about years of tension finally boiling over, about promises made in the name of plural marriage that are now unraveling in courtrooms and confessionals. And with the land at Coyote Pass still tying them all together, what started as a dream for one big family is looking more and more like a battleground for betrayal.
She had too much influence on our money, and in the end, we're just getting us straightened out at the end.
Denial and missing money. The irony? It was never supposed to get this far. Janelle has always been the calm one, the practical wife who made it all work behind the scenes. For years, she quietly kept the books, tracked the spending, and let Kody play the part of provider without rocking the boat. But now, in her own words, she's had to confront something she didn't want to admit. Lots of money was being pulled out of their shared account, and she had no idea what it was for. She's no longer willing to shrug it off as a misunderstanding or let Kody twist the narrative that she was in control. Because when Janelle's lawyer shows up with paperwork in hand, this isn't just a family disagreement anymore, it's a reckoning. And the moment that paperwork hit the table, everything changed.
There was no reason for them to think that I wasn't going to be fair.
Well, it feels like there was some distrust there that you weren't going to be fair.
Because Janelle and Meri are both leaving me going, wish I had some way to get alimony.
Kody may have brushed off her concerns in the past with vague comments about being a father to 18, but now those explanations are looking thinner than ever. And Robyn, who once insisted she never meddled in finances, suddenly finds herself under a microscope. If Janelle's audit uncovers even one questionable charge, one payment that benefited Robyn's household while the others went without, things could get very messy, very fast. And that's exactly what fans are starting to suspect. Because the timing, the silence, the excuses, none of it is adding up. It's wild to think that the same system Janelle is now auditing was once the heart of the family's plural dream. Back when Sister Wives first began, Kody and the women proudly talked about their united front, one big blended household, with one big bank account. Everything went into the family fund, groceries, mortgages, kids' school fees, even vacations. They called it our money, but now that phrase rings hollow because somewhere along the way, our started looking a lot more like his.
But she's like, I saw where all the money was going, and how much money Kody took and how much money Robyn took was a lot more than you were taking.
And for Janelle, the shift didn't happen overnight. It crept in slowly, first in whispered decisions, then in quiet withdrawals, and finally in full-blown secrecy that left her feeling shut out of the very system she helped build. Janelle told Christine that in the early years, there was a system. Everyone weighed in on which bills to pay, what should be prioritized, and how money should be allocated across the households. Sure, it was complicated, but at least it felt fair. That balance didn't just disappear, it was taken, piece by piece. And according to Janelle, the one doing the taking was Kody. He would just take out funds, she said bluntly. And I don't know what for. That single line hit like a slap across the fandom. This wasn't about minor overspending or a forgotten receipt. This was about thousands of dollars being pulled without explanation.
We never knew what the other wives were getting money-wise. We just understood what we had, but Janelle saw it all. And Janelle doesn't say much, and she's very tight-lipped.
And Janelle, who was supposedly in control of the books, had no say and no answers. And here's the part that stings. Janelle admits she trusted the process. She believed it would all balance out in the end. But now, with the benefit of hindsight and a lawyer on speed dial, she's seeing it for what it was. A system that gave Kody too much power, and the rest of them just enough access to feel included, until the walls closed in. I just was too trusting, she told cameras. It wasn't just money that got taken. It was faith, stability, and the illusion that they were all in it together. And if Janelle's beginning to question the entire foundation, Robyn's role in this might be even more complicated than anyone suspected.
He was like, oh, okay. Because I think that he thought that I was keeping money from him or from the family. I'm like, no, let me show you what I have contributed.
If you ask Kody, this whole mess is just a big misunderstanding. In his version of the story, Janelle was the one keeping the books, writing the checks, and essentially controlling the purse strings. He paints himself as the overwhelmed father of 18, just trying to juggle the chaos while Janelle tracked the numbers. And for years, that narrative worked, at least on the surface. But now that lawyers are circling and the financial fog is lifting, Janelle's not just pushing back. She's exposing what really happened behind closed doors. And according to her, that whole Janelle ran the money line, it's pure deflection. He loves this mantra that somehow I was the all-powerful one with all the financial control. She fired back in a confessional, clearly fed up. I really was just the person who recorded the transactions and sent them to the CPA. That's it. No approval power, no oversight, just a glorified secretary. Meanwhile, Kody was allegedly guiding where the money went without looping in the very women funding the account. And here's where things start to get shady. If Janelle didn't know what Kody was spending on, and Meri didn't know either, then who did? Because someone had to be in the loop, and all eyes are turning to Robyn.
I was leaving Kody, and there was no way I wanted to be tied to him in any way, shape, or form, and I did not like to deal with him at all on anything, and especially on finances. No thank you.
Throughout the last few seasons, Robyn has quietly distanced herself from the money drama, positioning herself as the emotional peacemaker. She's never raised her voice in financial discussions, rarely challenged Kody on budgeting, and often sat silently while the other wives expressed concerns. But now that numbers aren't adding up and the paper trail is leading back to Kody's inner circle, fans are asking the obvious question: was Robyn really in the dark, or was she just playing the long game? Her critics say the pattern is too suspicious to ignore. When Christine left, the money dynamic shifted. When Janelle left, it cracked. And now that Meri's getting lawyers involved too, the spotlight is getting hotter. Robyn may have stayed quiet to avoid the mess, but the silence is becoming its own kind of answer. And if what Janelle's audit uncovers leads back to unexplained expenses tied to Robyn's household, the fallout could be massive. It was the moment that made even longtime fans do a double take. In a confessional that felt more like a courtroom testimony, Janelle didn't mince words. She looked straight into the camera and said Kody would just take out funds, and I don't know what for. And the money was just being spent, and lots of it. That line didn't just sting, it detonated. Because lots of it doesn't sound like a casual gas bill or an impulse Costco run. It sounds like someone helping themselves to thousands without accountability.
And if the land isn't getting paid off, and if Kody can't come up with a paper trail if a wife were to ask for an accounting of where their money was going, I mean, that would all be Janelle's fault.
And that's exactly what Janelle's legal team is now determined to figure out. What happened to those funds? That's the question driving this audit. And while Kody claims everything was above board, we all had access to the account, he insisted. Janelle says otherwise. Not only did she lack real control, she didn't even know where the money was going. And if the account was so transparent, why is Robyn the only one who seemed to benefit during the final years of the marriage collapse? Fans remember all too well that while the other wives were financially downsizing, Robyn's household kept expanding. New furniture, property renovations, and a lifestyle that didn't seem to match the rest of the family's financial strain. It's not just the spending, it's the secrecy. Janelle says she never signed off on those withdrawals, and more importantly, no one was explaining them. Not Kody, not the accountant, and certainly not Robyn. And now that lawyers are involved, all those blank spaces on the ledger are turning into liabilities. The audit isn't just about tracking numbers, it's about restoring clarity to a system that was allegedly manipulated to benefit a chosen few while leaving the rest behind. Because let's be honest, if there's one wife in that family who always played by the rules, it was Janelle. She followed the process, did the paperwork, and trusted Kody to be fair. And now that she's pulling back the curtain, it's becoming painfully clear that trust may have been misplaced. Especially when one person, Robyn, seemed to be getting more, while everyone else was told to be patient.
Meri is genuinely surprised to learn that Janelle isn't controlling the purse strings. The fact that Meri was funneling money and not asking questions is shocking.
And if the audit shows what fans suspect, that Robyn's household was protected while the others bled money, Janelle won't be the only one demanding answers. If there's one thing holding this entire saga together, it's dirt. Literally. The Coyote Pass property in Arizona, once meant to symbolize the future of the Brown family, has become a ticking time bomb. What started as a shared dream in 2018 with each wife promised her own slice of paradise has morphed into a legal battleground soaked in tension, resentment, and dueling versions of the truth. And now that lawyers are circling and emotions are flaring, that land isn't just property, it's leverage. It's the last tie that binds Janelle, Meri, Kody, and Robyn together, and no one's walking away without a fight. Janelle says she paid for her portion out of the family account, So does Meri, and until recently, both assumed they were entitled to equal shares. But here's where the story fractures. Kody insists that's not true. According to him, he personally paid for one of the lots, at least 92% he claims, and the rest was a group effort. But if that were true, why weren't the deeds handled clearly from the beginning? Why was Christine's name removed only after she handed her share back to Kody and Robyn? And why are Meri and Janelle only now realizing they should have been more aggressive about securing legal documentation? For Janelle, this isn't just about dollars, it's about closure. That land is her last tie to a man she no longer trusts and a family system she no longer believes in. She's said it clearly. She wants to walk away, but she's not leaving empty-handed. I trusted it would all work out in the end, she told cameras, and looking back now, I'm like, wow, it's really dumb. Why did I not insist that we were all titled on all the pieces? That regret? It's now fueling her legal strategy, because without proper titles or contracts, everything comes down to memory, hearsay, and trust. And trust at this point is in short supply. Even Meri, who used to defend Kody and Robyn, is now questioning everything.
Like, there's a bias, and I don't want to do that anymore.
All I can think is that it's somehow driven by his ego. In some regards, especially coming from the culture that we come from, he's a failure to have lost all his marriages.
She says she's owed her share. And while Robyn claims she's always supported Meri, the reality is no one knows where the lines are anymore. Who owns what? Who paid what? And who, behind the scenes, may have maneuvered this mess to their advantage? Janelle's audit may uncover more than just missing money, it might just unravel the entire Coyote Pass power play. Robyn Brown used to be the one wife who never got involved in the financial mess. While the other women argued over bills, budgets, and bank statements, Robyn stayed on the sidelines, often tearful, always diplomatic, and almost never questioned until now. Because as Janelle's legal demands dig deeper, something about Robyn's silence is starting to feel strategic. And the more the pressure mounts, the more viewers are realizing that Robyn's version of staying out of it may have meant benefiting quietly while everyone else battled it out. Janelle's allegations alone are troubling enough, but it's the optics that are doing the most damage. Robyn's home? Larger. Her lifestyle? More comfortable. And in the final stretch of the family's unraveling, she seemed to be the only wife not struggling financially. While Christine was downsizing, Meri was downsizing, and Janelle was living in an RV at one point. Robyn's household was reportedly thriving. Now, with the family accounts under scrutiny and questions being raised about how funds were distributed, fans are asking the obvious. Why did Robyn always seem to come out ahead? And more importantly, what did she know? And when did she know it? Publicly, Robyn insists she's done nothing wrong. In her most recent confessional, she emotionally stated, "I always had Meri's back, even when people were plotting against her, but Meri is no longer buying it." She's openly questioning whether that so-called bond ever really existed.
I do believe both Meri and Janelle also had a kickback that went to Robyn. So yes, Robyn's house was the first one to sell.
"Why tell me you want a relationship?" she asked, "and then ghost me?" The implication was clear. Robyn's loyalty may have had limits and possibly conditions. And here's what's making fans uncomfortable. Robyn isn't defending herself with facts. She's leaning on emotional appeals. There's been no clear explanation about whether her household received more financial support than the others. No clarification on how Coyote Pass shares were handled behind the scenes. Just vague statements and teary-eyed reflections. But in the court of public opinion, and possibly a real courtroom soon, that may not be enough. Because if Janelle's audit uncovers a pattern of funds favoring Robyn's household, whether knowingly or not, Robyn will have to explain more than just emotional distance. She'll have to explain the math. And with Meri now preparing her own legal action, Robyn may be facing more than just suspicion. She may be facing consequences. For years, Meri Brown held the line. She was the loyalist, the one who defended Kody even when the cracks were obvious, and the only wife who seemed to keep giving Robyn the benefit of the doubt. But all of that is now ancient history, because Meri has officially joined the fight. No more cryptic social posts or vague frustration, she's getting lawyers involved. And when Meri decides something is worth fighting for, you can bet it's because the damage has already gone too deep to ignore. It started subtly, just a few tense exchanges about the Coyote Pass property, a flash of anger during a confessional, but now we know that behind the scenes, Meri was preparing for legal war. In the latest trailer, her voice trembles with both rage and resolve. "There's a few things I will fight for," she says, and this is one of them. She's talking about her piece of Coyote Pass, but it's bigger than that.
Janelle's in charge of the finances. I'm sorry. No wonder Meri and Janelle never got along. Steen chimes in terms of Kody being fair, not being fair when it comes to the money, and she shares with us, so good, she shares with us that Janelle told her because Janelle had the books.
It's about dignity. It's about not being the afterthought anymore, and it's about finally seeing through the smoke and mirrors that have kept her on the outside of real power for far too long. What changed? According to Meri, it was the realization that she'd been manipulated, financially, emotionally, and personally. She now believes that Kody was misleading her about how much she was entitled to. During a January episode, she recalled him telling her she didn't deserve an equal share of the land because they only had one child together. The subtext couldn't be clearer. Fewer kids equals fewer rights. And Meri, who once might have swallowed that logic, is done pretending it makes sense. But it wasn't just Kody's words. It was Robyn's silence that cut the deepest. For years, Meri believed they had a bond. She defended Robyn when others didn't. She took her side during tension with the other wives, and now she's left questioning whether Robyn ever truly saw her as an equal. "Why tell me you want a relationship?" Meri asked recently, "and then ghost me?" That ghosting during the property discussions, the money talks, and the emotional fallout has left Meri with no choice but to protect herself, with legal representation. And now that both Janelle and Meri are lawyered up, the walls are closing in fast. Because what started as Janelle asking questions has turned into two women demanding answers. And if Robyn thought she could stay silent and let Kody do the explaining, she may be in for a rude awakening. If there's one place the truth should feel safe, it's in those private confessionals. But lately, even that sacred space has become a battleground. One by one, the Brown family members have stepped in front of the cameras, not to reflect, but to defend, accuse, and reposition themselves. And now, what fans are calling the confessional war is revealing more than just opinions. It's laying bare the fault lines that rip this family apart. Janelle's calm but cutting revelations, Meri's betrayed tone, Kody's defensive smirks, and Robyn's fragile, emotionally vague monologues. It's less about reconciling and more about rewriting the past. Kody insists he's not the villain here. In one recent clip, he throws up his hands and says, "I'm not trying to rip you off, Meri." The line is so casually dismissive, it stings.
Steen wasn't getting anywhere near the amount of money that Robyn was receiving.
He seems less concerned with clearing things up than with clearing himself of blame. He claims everyone had access to the account. He suggests the wives misunderstood how the land payments worked, and he insists his intentions were pure. But the problem isn't just what he's saying, it's what he's not saying. There's still no breakdown of where the money went. No clear reason why Robyn's household was insulated from the financial turmoil everyone else faced, and no real apology. Robyn, for her part, is now leaning hard into the emotional defense. She's not offering numbers, she's offering nostalgia. She speaks of loyalty, of having Meri's back, of wanting to protect the family. But when it comes to the tough questions, who paid for what? Who made the decisions? Who benefited? She dances around them, and that silence is speaking volumes. Because even if Robyn didn't ask for more than her fair share, the question remains, did she accept it once it started happening? Meanwhile, Janelle and Meri are over it. Janelle's done with being painted as the woman who held the checkbook, and therefore the blame. "If I controlled the money," she snapped, "we would have paid off Coyote Pass and built a house." That comment hit hard, not just because it's logical, but because it completely dismantles Kody's narrative. Meri too is pushing back, refusing to be erased from financial decisions, just because her marriage with Kody had long been running on fumes. This isn't just a family coming undone. It's a PR disaster unfolding in real time, with each person fighting to tell their version first. And if the audit contradicts even one of those carefully worded confessionals, someone's story is about to collapse. Behind the scenes, the stakes are getting higher. Janelle didn't hire a lawyer just to rattle cages. She's looking for answers that could completely reshape the Brown family's legacy. At the heart of the audit is one simple question: where did the money go? But what Janelle's legal team is really after could go much deeper than line items and expense reports. Because if that money trail leads to favoritism, misallocation, or unreported benefits flowing disproportionately into Robyn's household, then this stops being reality TV drama and starts sounding like potential legal exposure. According to sources close to the family, Janelle's lawyer is asking for full transparency, bank records, transaction logs, CPA statements, the entire financial ecosystem of the family account. And that could get uncomfortable fast. Not just for Kody, who allegedly moved funds around without consulting the wives, but for Robyn, who may have benefited from those withdrawals whether she realized it or not. If any of those expenses were disguised as group costs but only supported one household, Janelle's lawyer could argue there was intentional misrepresentation. And it's not just about proving who spent what, it's about setting a precedent. Because Meri is right behind her, gearing up to make her own legal claims about her share of Coyote Pass and the family fund. If both women can prove they were systematically excluded from financial decisions or misled about what they were owed, that opens the door to compensation claims, asset divisions, and possibly even civil action. We're not just talking about bruised feelings anymore, we're talking about legal fallout that could haunt Kody and Robyn for years, and here's where things get even more tangled. Kody has maintained that Janelle, as the bookkeeper, should have known everything. But Janelle insists she was never given real authority, just the task of recording what he already decided. That distinction matters, because if she was kept in the dark and only brought in after the fact, it reinforces the idea that Kody was misusing a position of trust. And if Robyn's household disproportionately benefited during that time, even if she never touched a checkbook herself, she might still be held accountable in the court of public opinion, and possibly in a courtroom too. The audit isn't just a paper trail, it's a powder keg. And the deeper her lawyer digs, the more it threatens to blow the lid off years of financial secrets no one was ever supposed to see. Janelle always hoped she could walk away peacefully. She said it herself. All she wants is to close this chapter. But now, with legal documents filed, audits underway, and silence turning into subpoenas, it's clear this chapter isn't ending quietly. It's just beginning. And at the center of it all is one uncomfortable truth. Janelle trusted Kody. She trusted the system they built. She trusted that Robyn would never let things get this unbalanced. But as the numbers come under scrutiny and the emotional fog lifts, that trust is dissolving into something far more volatile: determination. For years, Janelle stayed practical. She balanced budgets, she played by the rules. But the moment Kody dismissed her concerns with his usual bravado, "I'm not your servant to boss around," something snapped. She realized she was never really seen as an equal, just the bookkeeper, just the one who quietly kept things running while others made the calls. And now she's reclaiming that voice, not through passive-aggressive confessionals or tense family meetings, but through legal muscle. And then there's Robyn. For so long, she stayed soft-spoken, emotionally reserved, rarely getting her hands dirty in the group conflict. But this audit is peeling back that image. The longer she dodges the hard questions about money, about property, about loyalty, the more viewers are wondering if her silence was less about grace and more about protection. Because when it comes to explaining the charges, so far Robyn has offered more tears than transparency. Janelle, Meri, and Christine may be separated now, but their shared experience, the financial fog, the emotional gaslighting, the vanishing funds, has become a common thread. And with two of the three now pursuing legal action, the pressure is closing in fast. For Kody, for Robyn, and for whatever's left of the illusion that this plural marriage was ever fair to begin with. So what happens if the audit uncovers more than just sloppy bookkeeping? What if it reveals a pattern of financial favoritism that makes everything the ex-wives suspected painfully real? Could Robyn face legal consequences? And will Kody finally be forced to explain every single charge to the lawyers, the wives, and the viewers who've watched this unravel for years? Let us know what you think. Is Janelle finally getting the justice she deserves? Or is this only scratching the surface of something even bigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments, give this video a like if you've been following the Sister Wives saga from the beginning, and hit subscribe so you don't miss a single update, because the next video on your screen is waiting. And trust me, you won't want to miss it.